use algebra to solve. This one would have been a non-calculator one. So you can kind of sort of do some predicting things. As soon as you find out, oh, this is on the non-calculator part of my test, it's probably going to lean into my unit circle. How do I solve something with a cos squared? Well, if I get the cos squared by itself by dividing both sides of this equation by 2, how do I get rid of a squared? Square root. And if I square root something, I have to remember the plus or minus. Now, this one's a little bit hard because we have a half on our pie plate for cos, but this isn't just a half, right? This is the square root of a half. So we might have to work with this a little bit because on your unit circle, you never labeled something as the square root of a half. So if we play around algebraically with this, the square root of a half is the same thing as the square root of 1 over the square root of 2. And of course, the square root of 1 is just 1. So now we've changed this from being the square root of a half to 1 over the square root of 2. Again, we think of our pie plate, our unit circle, and we never labeled 1 over the square root of 2 on there. In fact, everything that we labeled on our pie plate, we rationalized the denominators. We never had square roots on the bottom. So another thing that you could do with this is rationalize the denominator. You rationalize by multiplying the top and bottom by root 2, and now we get cos of x equals plus or minus square root of 2 over 2. And hopefully that rings a bell because that is something we labeled. What family for cos had root 2 over 2? Pi over 4 or 45 degrees. Again, at this point I've scrolled down too far. I've got to go up and check. I'm dealing in degrees. So I'm going to want to say that x is going to equal 45 degrees. Well, that's my family. Which quadrants will I look in for this one? All of them, right? Because it's positive and negative. So we're looking where cos is positive, quadrant 1 and 4, and where cos is negative, quadrant 2 and 3. So we're going to list the whole 45-degree family. And they just told us the domain. There was no general solution. Of course, we've solved this from 0 to 2 pi. The domain, we solved it from 0 to 360. The domain was 0 to 360, so we are done. And no general solution was asked, but if they did, you would take all 4 of those and add 360 times k. I want you to do, as far as practice, 5 and 11. 5 is worded a little bit differently. I want you to change the wording on 5. Instead of the wording that they have, I actually want you to solve from 0 to 2 pi. So when you get to question 5, instead of the question that they've asked, just practice solving it from 0 to 2 pi.